say, are you lost along the way? Like some child calling out for mommy, but mommy doesn't answer. Do you hear the clowns play accordion and piccolo above your grave as you are lowered down into a pauper's hole? Are you lost on fire, lost within the fires of hell, smelling that infernal stink that rises from the devil's pink?
My name is Jim Church. I'm a lightning strike survivor, a vet, and most importantly, I'm the return of Jesus Christ and Osiris. I want you to come to my compound. I can heal you by making love to your wife or to you.
Are you looking for solutions to the plight of being human as you mule upon a temporal cross made of the past and future, hanging like a Jesus bug, hoping for some kind of hug, a little bit of mercy? Don't they see that you're so thirsty, longing for a drink of some unknown thing, a potion that will soothe the pain of nails stuck in your hands and feet?
When I was struck by lightning, I was visited by 7 golden beings. One of them had a glowing orb, the other had a gauntlet of fire, the other one had 3 marbles, the other one had bunny ears, the other one had a whip made of tears, and the other one had a cookbook. The 7th one had a sand dollar. They taught me the secrets of tantric healing. I want to make love to you and your wife. Come to my compound in Louisiana. You will be healed. Much thanks to Pastor Church for sponsoring this episode of the DTFH. If his musical ability is any indication of his ability as a cult leader, then I think y'all should definitely head down to his compound, because that was a beautiful song. And if you are a cult leader, big or small, an up-and-coming cult leader, if you're just starting a cult, if you're even thinking about starting a cult, or if you're a long-term cult leader with a huge flock, all are welcome to advertise on the DTFH, and we have rates and packages that will fit any cult, not just in the United States, but globally. All the links you need to find our rates are located at DuncanTrussell.com.
And now let's try for my real sponsors. Here we go.
Friends, I don't know, maybe it's just something about me, but I have a feeling you're probably the same way. What's worse than going to the grocery store and getting sneezed on by some infected toddler in a slimy, freaking grocery cart filled with sugary crap? I prefer to stay at home, which is why I love Instacart, because they can get groceries delivered to your door in as fast as an hour or at a time that works for you. You don't have to sit in traffic. You don't have to collect coupons, because all the coupons are there in the Instacart app. All you have to do is get the app or go to instacart.com and shop the groceries you need from your favorite local retailers. They will shop for you. They will deliver to your door. They keep hot items hot and cold items cold. You can try Instacart and get $10 off your first order. To get this limited time offer, go to instacart.com or download the mobile app and enter promo code Duncan at checkout. That's $10 off your first order today at instacart.com or through the mobile app. And don't forget to enter my code Duncan, instacart.com or through the mobile app with my code Duncan at checkout. Try them out. If you've never tried Instacart, welcome to Glory Land. Especially if you live in a state where civilization reigns and marijuana is legal, and you get a craving for some good food and you don't want to drive, and suddenly there's a wonderful person with a bag of delicious groceries at your house. This is paradise, friends. Dive in and swim around. Thanks, Instacart. My brothers and sisters, we have a wonderful podcast for you today with the genius Dan Harmon. But very quickly, before we get into that, I just want to plug my Patreon. If you go to patreon.com/DTFH, you'll get commercial-free episodes of this podcast, along with every month an extra hour-long rambling dialogue coming straight from a doctor who graduated recently from the University of Bro Science. I will tell you everything about quantum physics that you need to know, including things that some alleged quantum physicists have not figured out yet. For example, quarks and neutrinos are actually lasers. Also, dear sweet loves, if you are in the Los Angeles area, this Sunday coming up, I'm going to be doing a sit at Samarasa Yoga Studio in Echo Park. If you go to their website, you'll see all the information. It's free. It's not going to be that exciting. In fact, it's probably going to be pretty boring if you don't like sitting still for 20 or 30 minutes. I'm not going to be talking or anything. It's just going to be, I'll probably ring a bell and maybe like for a couple of minutes talk about the way I've been taught to sit. But that's pretty much it. But if you want to come to a nice meditation group on Sunday, that is going to be happening at Samarasa Yoga Studio. Okay, loves. Oh, also we have a shop located at DuncanTrussell.com. Get yourself some swag, please. Now, without further ado, I have for your enjoyment today someone whose mind never fails to astound me. It's incredible to watch Harmon vomit out genius effortlessly, and this particular episode I think was my favorite one with him. He made Community. He is one of the co-creators of Rick and Morty, and he's got a fantastic podcast called Harmon Town. Definitely check it out. You can find him on Instagram, and you can watch his animated show inspired by D&D sessions called Harmon Quest on VRV. Without further ado, everybody, please welcome back to the Duncan Trussell Family Hour podcast, the glorious Dan Harmon. Dan.
Should this be right in my face?
Oh, yeah. Like, basically, like, I'm sorry about this, by the way, man. It's like I'm still getting this aspect of it set up. The more it's in your face, the better, but I wouldn't worry about it too much. It's annoying things. There we go. Let me just get this. Don't worry about it, though. It's like, that's perfect. I'm sorry. Yeah. I got to get this worked out.
No, I got. This is what I got. I had one of these in my nightstand in my bed.
Really? That's so perfect.
Yeah.
Good idea. Just to grab ideas?
Yeah, or just to like, for a little bit there before I started moving my job, I was thinking about like, like what if your goal was to like, be able to do everything from bed?
Yeah.
Which is, you're not supposed to think that way.
It's not weird.
Yeah.
Pain culture.
Right.
Or it means you're sick. That you get in bed.
Well, that's what. And I started. That's the funny thing is that very quickly, if you want to be productive in bed, you immediately, of course, you're looking. If you take it seriously, you're pretty quickly crossing a threshold from Amazon to like hospital equipment.
Yeah, no shit.
And I was thinking, there could be this thing called like hospital punk or, hospice culture, kind of like micro convalescence.
It's fucked up. It's like the only, for a lot of people, hospice and baby time is the only time you experience real compassion in your life.
Yeah.
Everything in between is a hellscape.
Yeah.
Where people, if someone's nice to you, it's an emergency situation. And like I was just watching, in New York City, 5 police officers in 1 month committed suicide. And which is weird that it's contagious. But, one of the police general chief was like, just call out if you need help. And I was thinking like how fucked up it is in the world that to get like help, just basic human compassion, it's an emergency situation. Otherwise, shut the fuck up.
Yeah.
If you're on the precipice of executing yourself, call out. But before that, please don't bother me. We're too busy,
Yeah. Yeah, I was just listening to this thing on the drive over here. Radio Lab has this like mini series they're doing right now about intelligence measuring, and the latest episode was somebody talking about whale intelligence, and the theory among the people that study whales, that they think that it's possible that their echolocation is carrying a feeling with it, and that they have something that we kind of strive for and would consider super advanced, which is just macro empathy, to the point where if two whales and a giant pod of whales are sick, then the entire whale pod, to an outside human observer, is basically singing, "We are sick."
Wow.
Because there's two of them that are, so they're all feeling it, and until that problem's solved, it's all of their problem, which we would consider very advanced, or maybe some people would consider that the nightmare of socialism or something, but only if the sickness then kills the whales. Like, I think that's what evolutionary humanists are afraid of, is if we all, every time there's an unwed mother that needs diapers, we all need diapers, we're all going to go down and none of us are going to finish our album. That's what we're worried about, right?
Whoa, finish our album. That is it too, isn't it? It's like we're in such a strange place right now. Hold on one second. I'm sorry, Dan. I was gonna apologize.
No problem. I'd be scared to make this leap. I've been trying to record stuff in my car, like singing and stuff, and I like.
There we go. It's working. Great. This doesn't track. So it's like there's a weird bit of trust that has to happen. But I just touched it and fucked up.
Well, isn't there a button, I'm sure, that like where it tracks the cursor?
Well, that
tracks the whatever, the
I
playhead?
haven't found it yet. All this stuff is a mystery to me. But I could just look at that red dot and I see it now. I can tell where it is now. I just found it. Okay, cool. Sorry, dang. I want to get into the terror of socialism. That is right now one of the, like, just hounding people's brains, because it's this idea of, like, first of all, if you remove all the if you heard the word communism or socialism minus the history of either one or what people think it is, you have, like, pretty much an obvious sort of way to live, which is we need to commune with each other. There needs to be a communing that happens in our civilization, and so the act of communing with your neighbors would, one word for it would be communism. I'm someone who communes. I like the feeling of being in communion with my friends. I like it. It's nice. It's a great feeling, by the way. When you're having sex, that's good. You could say you're a communist because you're communing with your lover. It's great. Or a socialist, too. The other thing is, like, one of the insults are, like, you should better watch out for that guy. He's antisocial. You know, that's no good if he's antisocial. He sets shit on fire. He'll fuck your dogs. He, like, doesn't even have a reason for it. He just does it. He wants to hurt things. But, so that we should be afraid of. Like, if a new sort of economy was emerging that was an antisocial economy and people were really plugging it, it would be a good thing to, like, be scared of. But for some reason, people hear socialism and they're like, they're going to take your fucking house.
Right.
So, yeah, this is, like, to me, a problem of semantics, right? Like, if we could come up with another word for it, people would love it right away.
Yeah, I mean, isn't there, like, a bunch of ways in which even the hardest core kind of fiscal conservative would agree that something that they would basically refuse to call socialism is needed? Like, it just, like, the people that panic about the idea of socialism probably also panic about the idea of anarchy. But it's sort of, it's a big semantic soup because these words mean, like, almost nothing at this point. But if you're right, we do need to, I think, take a step back. Because, for instance, I probably differ from you in that I don't want cooperation imposed on me.
No way.
Because that's not cooperation.
You don't differ from no, that's fucked. We're the same there. Fuck that. That's
I don't want to wake up on Tuesday in the mood to be exceptional, to be private, to be isolated, alienated, and have someone knocking on my door like my entire life is the equivalent of a long weekend with a girlfriend's family where, well, we do this thing where we get coffee and we have this inside joke and now we play Trivial Pursuit and now we do these things. I don't want that loss of control over my life.
No.
I think that but what I want is I don't want to have to feel guilt or shame or about like getting more at some starting line that I didn't even participate in than other people. Like if you get born in a country and you're not allowed as a baby or able as a baby to go, I think I'll be Swedish. Like then what does it mean to be a citizen of that country? It doesn't mean anything, right? Like you got born Swedish, you got born French, you got born American, and in any case, it's not up to you. Like what your first pair of pants is. It's not up to you what neighborhood you live in. It's not up to you what color your skin is. It's not up to you what school you go to for the first like 20 years of your life. Like and so since it's not up to you, all that stuff, isn't it kind of weird that if you at 30 years old are sleeping on a park bench that some other dude who also had no control over their circumstances is like, they're the one with the badge and the stun baton, and they're like zapping you and going, "Hey, you can't sleep here."
Yeah,
and it's like I'm just very I'm fascinated and confused lately about that concept of homelessness, for instance, where we all agree we wish there weren't dirty poor people on the streets. Yeah, but we keep it. It just seems such a fundamentally weird thing where we're like, I wish that dirty poor person didn't exist because what really makes me angry about them is the idea that I owe dirty poor people something. And does that make sense? Like, because it's like, we don't respond to, on an emotional level, to a person in need with this like urge to help them. We want them to go away. We want them to not have need.
Yeah.
But then when we talk about politics and policy and things, that's why all I ever strive for is I'm like, can you get those people off the sidewalk with the policy, so that I don't have to engage it on an emotional level. Yeah, and that's as cynical as liberal thought can get. I think is to just be like, dude, I'm a liberal because I just want everybody to stop like being a reason for me to feel ashamed of myself.
Fuck. Yeah, it's like when you go shopping for meat, you don't want that's why there's no such thing as like, there's a
cow that greets you at the door.
Or a juice, you have orange juicers. It's cool. You go get your orange juice, you watch the oranges go in the juicer, you see the juice come.
Yeah, I mean the right to isolate, the right to... Because if we were cavemen and we lived in a tribe of 100 people, I'm first and foremost, I'm an elitist because I want to be like, come on, man, I'm not that good at hunting mammoth. Like, yeah, can you just let me hang out and play with Duncan's Moog thing, whatever the prehistoric equivalent of that is? Because I'm just gonna slow you guys down out there. The thought that society starts getting constructed, and then from there you go. People like the little skinny or the big fat guys that can't swing a club as well start going, hey, what if even though you could absolutely just have any girl you want, what if we all made agreements that once a girl says she's yours, and so you get like these horrible, like kind of institutionalized concepts of ownership and things that all end up biting us in the ass, but it's all born out of like this insecurity of like, can't I just be a nerd and suck my thumb and mind my business? But also, is someone going to take out my garbage and wash my shit away? And most importantly of all, though, like can I stop worrying about all of you?
Yeah. Well, it's not. It's like the feeling of being sort of held by the universe with zero obligation to anything in the universe outside of whatever your main job is glorious. I mean, you can't find a better feeling than that sense of like, fuck, I can be in my house just making music. I can order stuff that comes to my door. When it comes to my door, I don't have to then like talk to the guy. This is always the difficulty of buying drugs, is that there has to be more of depending on who, if you have, fortunately in the old days, I have had very nice, I'm not trying to insult any of my drug dealers because some of them are my best friends, but I'm saying like when you end up with like a real, sort of lump, and someone whose like brain has been mushed and you just kind of are like interested in buying some dope, you don't feel like having a long conversation with them, but you kind of have to because it's prohibited. Anyway, what I'm saying is the glorious sense of being able to drive by a person laying on the street and think to yourself, well, that's someone else's problem. I really hope people fix that is a really like narcotic kind of sick, wonderful, and, anesthetized pleasure that's 100% related to the fact that we're not pods of whales feeling each other's reality.
Yeah.
Because the moment, if like just by some miracle, the Earth shot out a virus that made it so that you had that thing, that thing people can feel other people's pain.
Right.
If everyone had that, tomorrow we're in fucking Karl Marx land. It's communist all the way through. No rich person is going to be able to sit in this fucking nice place feeling someone starve nearby because it would hurt you. You'd be like, I got to get food to that person.
I think, maybe what we would both agree on is tomorrow, if that came out on the shelf at Best Buy or at your local pharmacy, the first person to try it would immediately spit it out and go, I don't want that ever in my mouth again. Like when we say if everyone had it, if everyone had it, it might be no problem at all.
Yeah.
And it's just that big problem of like nobody wants to get fucked. Nobody wants to be the first person or the only person to start playing by different rules, and then you just like, oh man,
you're done.
Well, I just kind of like, I put out a tent and I said, hey, does anybody want my shit? And then the answer was, yeah, these 20 people did. And then they took some of my shit and then they started a business selling tents to people that want to put tents out, but they charge 5 times as much. And now they're in a fucking space station filled with diamonds and coke and laughing at me. And because it turns out being poor doesn't automatically make you a good person your heart. Like, so, and I should know because I wasn't born rich. But you touched on something kind of interesting there, which is I think is poetic, which is we do now more than ever we have the ability because of technology to, whether it's drugs or even just diapers or applesauce or pantyhose or toy trucks, like we can, it's crazy that you can just click on that stuff and it'll come to your door the next day.
Crazy.
And that's not really regarded as like something that rich people can do. It's like basically how we're all able to do it. There's like the price differential is not like, oh, if I go down the street to Kmart, I'm being better with my money than if I buy it on Amazon. Right. It's like we all are able now, and also not even being punished for this like curb to door kind of service. But it's funny that the exact same technology is also making it impossible for you to ignore everyone in the world,
right?
And which is responsible for all these culture wars that we're having because you're younger than me, but you and I both, through the lens of comedy, could like look on the spectrum where it was like 10 years ago, Patton Oswalt could do a stand-up set and it didn't matter. And we all lived through these markers where it was sort of like, well, the internet is ruining comedy. The internet is ruining like this aspect of my life that I really held valuable, which was isolation, pockets, context, due process, whatever you want to call it. Like where it's like, and now it's just like you can't not know that someone somewhere would have a problem with what you're doing or saying right now.
Right. Has to happen.
Yeah.
And we can make I mean, the thing is like, if for whatever reason you just feel a basic sense of, I don't like you, fuck it. I can make what you're saying bad. I can take anything you've said, if you have enough of it out there, and I can prove that you're a Satanist. I can prove you're a pedophile. I can prove you're a fucking cannibal. I could find ways to make the thing work if there's enough of it out there. And especially if I've got a group of people who just want to be mad, who don't want to even look into anything at all, who just want to read a sentence and say, that must be the way it is. It's a terrible mess. It's like
but don't ignore the fact that shipment of that guilt and shame and outrage is coming in the same box as all the Oreo cookies you want, all diapers at 3 a.m. Crazy. That's the thing, is we're getting this big box of other people. We're now able to just have whatever we want, but that doesn't include isolation. Yeah. We're finding, I think, one has to take extra psychological steps should one want to have one without the other.
Yeah.
So, like, you're sitting in your basement, you've got your drone coming in from your favorite electronics store, your brand new microphone, your shotgun shells, your applesauce, your dog collar that's going to Wi-Fi sync your dog to the outside perimeter of your fence. All these things that are going to make your life more convenient for you as an individual, but they come in, all of those things, those luxuries, the ability to have those things without having to drive all the way to Fry's, much less talk to a Fry's employee.
Oh, I gotcha.
All of those things come with this crazy signal over the same ham radio, which is like, must be nice to be, you saw me, you realize when you do that, you're a piece of shit. These voices are coming in. So you have to build this Faraday box to, like, people are being challenged. It's it's little wonder you see this rise. It would have been a big wonder to me 10 years ago if you had said to me, do you know that the internet progressing along this trajectory is actually going to see the rise of factionalism, tribalism, nationalism, jingoism, xenophobia? I'd be like, no, that doesn't make any sense, because I'm an early adopter of the internet, and if it's very clear that it's all boundaries, good or bad, are going to melt away.
Yeah.
Well, no, not at all, because the human impulse, us not being whales biologically, the human impulse is for isolation.
Boundary.
And if we're denied it, if you send us a box that says all of your cookies are in here plus a bunch of guilt, we're going to twist and contort our brains to eat the cookies without the guilt.
Fuck yeah. That's genius, man. Yeah, that's it. 100%. We are boundary. We like to, you look and you see fiddler crabs at the beach. They're cool. I love them. Have you ever seen a marsh with fiddler crabs? They hold their, it's crazy. I mean, it's crazy because they're clearly some kind of society, and they dig little holes for each other, and they all will go back in these holes, and then they come out of the hole, and if you go by, they raise up their claw at you, all of them together, like, look, we've got these claws. It's kind of pathetic. It
really is sad. Do they understand that?
They don't understand the power dynamic. Because you could smash them, but easy. They couldn't do anything.
They're definitely not guns that they're holding up. Yeah.
Oh man, it's sad to watch a crab brandish his claw.
Just back the wrong Darwinian horse. Look at these crap. Imagine the speeches down in those tunnels. Guys, now more than ever, we have to show solidarity. If we go out there tomorrow, I hear Farmer Cummings coming. Guys, we've been over this. Those of you who don't go up and raise your claw in the air, you're part of the problem. There needs to be all 80 claws coming out of the holes in this marsh, or crabs may actually be in danger at the hands of a sentient primate that can make gunpowder.
If we all put our claws up, you'll see the fear in his eyes. It's undeniable. Just one, he'll eat us all. This pork once, I don't know, I have crab stories. It just came into my mind, but this crab was in a tidal pool, and I saw the crab, and the crab was aware that I was aware of the crab clawing up, and I'm walking down the tidal pool, and it was like in the tidal pool, shadowing me, holding, like shaking its claw at me just to make sure, like, look, I could chase you if I wanted to.
Yeah.
That's to me is like, when I find myself throwing my claw up like that against like literally infinity.
Yeah.
And inside you're like, what, this claw throwing, it's doing nothing. And then you see on the internet, like what you're talking about, swarms of these poor little, imaginary crabs, which are people's identities smashed and digitized, put on a fucking Twitter, and then they throw their claws up against a shadow of a thing that probably doesn't even exist, and they're shaking their fucking claw. Yeah, man, it's identical. It's like, and then the next thing you know, sure as shit, someone will be like, why didn't you throw your claw up, man?
Right. Well, and sometimes that'll be accurate. It's not safe to just side with the general cynicism of it. How do you know the difference between the moment when that claw really matters? Those crabs, maybe they don't know the difference between Farmer Cummings and a skunk or a horny toad or whatever the fuck biosphere. I don't know what I'm sure that goddamn crab claw move works all the time, or at least even if it doesn't work anymore, it worked somehow, somewhere. And how are they supposed to know the difference? And more, it's you can't just side with entropy. You can't just give up and go, well, your tweets don't matter, and your breath doesn't matter, your mind doesn't matter, your outrage doesn't matter, nothing matters. I don't like that either. It's just, it's like, are you just trying to be right? Are you just so worried about being wrong that, you don't get a cookie for that either. If the horse that you bet on in the race of philosophies is none of this race matters, like, oh yeah, you're definitely a guaranteed winner, but what does that pay?
Yeah.
what is it? What is so like it kind of bums me out too, like, because the smartest people in the world default to that because it is the most logical thing in a state of chaos. It is the most surefire bet. If you pull back from the earth far enough, like a little kid with cancer, or a local election, or an alderman raving about a Walmart going up, or a tribe somewhere that's like warring genocidally about the shape of someone's earrings, like, of course, the further you pull back, the less all of that matters. But how far back are you going to pull? Like we talked about this a little bit when you were on my podcast, and it's sort of that idea of like, I think we touched on this, where it's like, you and I are prone to the kind of Eastern thought of it, which is there's a foundation there, which has a sort of neither here nor there kind of thing, where it's like if you get caught up in that roller coaster, if you pee your pants, that's your pee kind of thing, where it's like listen, the only truth that really matters is that nothing's true, and it's like a big aspirin on the disease of like freaking out. And but I think we all both agree that that's not. There's a difference between that being an effective way of getting perspective, and that being the path to happiness. Because those very traditions would say, see, you're wrong already. Path to happiness. You done fucked up before we started.
You mean in the sense the path is the way? There is no path.
But that this idea of questing for happiness, for instance, as soon as you're, like the Tao Te Ching would say, if you see some things as beautiful, other things become ugly. So it's like that sums it up right there. It's like, so you're a the older your religion is, the more it is a very functional handbook on how to stabilize an otherwise unstable engine. Oh yeah, nothing matters. That's right. So you have a crisis, and then very often the solution is to calm down and go, you know what?
Right.
Big picture here. At the end of the day, the Titanic is going to be filling with just as much water 1 minute from now, whether or not we strangle each other over who has the bigger bucket. And we might actually, that could be a path to someone going, you're right, I'm sorry, I just spent the last 20 minutes looking for a bucket. I actually know something about the pump in the basement, or I have the key. You could unlock more practical paths to solutions just by going, we're all going to die.
Yeah, right. It's like, that's it. Because one sort of broadcast definitely creates a higher likelihood the Titanic's going to sink. And like, sure, maybe there's the odds of anybody being able to fix a fucking iceberg in the Titanic with whatever's on the Titanic are probably pretty slim. But you never fucking know.
You don't know when you're on the Titanic and when you're sitting in your dad's lap in a go-kart that he's pretending you're steering, or when you're actually fucking steering it because your dad's drunk. You don't know. I think, isn't that sentience? Isn't that why we're nuts? Because we have this different split between you can't underreact, but you can't overreact. That's what the Western and Eastern religions agree on, right? It's basically like, in the West, it takes the form of this crazy, drunk, angry, jealous, monotheistic guy who's going to hit you with a belt for picking wrong.
Yeah.
And in the East, it's like, well, we kind of figured out you better, you don't want to sign up for disappointment. But both of them kind of agree, yeah, it's damn, what a fucking fucked up video game this is, where it's possible to overreact and underreact.
I mean, the distinction you're making between those two, I think one of them is figure out, before you can reject yourself, you have to know yourself. That's the Eastern one. It's first, what are you? Are you a thing? What are you? Why do you want the packages delivered? Is it really doing anything for you when you get the package delivered? And it's this sort of weird process.
If the price of the Oreos is knowing that you have white privilege, can you not add that to the flavor of your cookie, etc.?
White privilege Oreos. Holy shit.
Delicious. The realization that 7 billion people have it worse than me.
Or it's got to be they're the best tasting thing you ever ate, but there's a 20% chance you're going to get ball cancer from eating them. So you've got to always have this sense of my God, I think it's killing me. But it's this simple question, many people don't explore very deeply, identity itself. And we're in an identity crisis. I mean, with what we were talking about is happening on the internet was happening to a person, it's a person having a massive identity crisis. And we're having a special identity crisis because we've been fucking clustering in these countries and adhering to these religions and believing this very certain way of being and waving our claws in this very specific way, to the point where even talking about waving your claw in a different way can get you on Fox News. Someone can be yelling about, oh my God, did you hear this? Another Hollywood motherfucker said we should wave our claws to the left instead of to the right.
Yeah.
And you start waving to the left and the shadow will only grow. And then we're in this.
Yeah, you can be 16 years old on a field trip and smirk wrong and end up because that's how insecure we are about who we are. We're that kid. What is that kid? Is he a Nazi? Is he a socialist? What's he doing? Isn't that a kind of a sign of our collapsing confidence, that when we're
yes,
a 3-year-old first words are MAGA, news at 11, we're like, that fucking, give me that kid, I'm gonna fucking punch him.
Get him, we gotta get the Antifa and we'll beat him. Yeah, this thing that I think is an acknowledgement that at least many people are having in the liminal between their consciousness, their subconsciousness, realizing that thanks to technology, we are now in a position where if someone articulates a meme in just the right way, the contagion that gets spread from that meme has the potential to completely restructure society in a way that no top-down power structure can stop.
And it's removing all the value from all of it, because we learned from history books that there's something special about FDR. There's something special about MLK,
Right.
JFK. As that way, like we have heroes and they are decisive, and then there's movements and there's marches, and all of these things have value, and the economy of all of that is collapsing because Fort Knox is empty. It turns out in a world where a 15-year-old Russian kid can use openly bad English and no apostrophes to say, Pepe the Frog says you have a small dick if you vote for this person, and my mom can freak out enough to change her vote, let alone like and the entire everything is. I mean, we're all awash in this nihilistic realization, but that's a good thing, right? Because if you can realize that it was all bullshit, then it was all bullshit. And there's that, the next step, if we survive it, is the realization that if it's like we can retain the memory that it's all bullshit. That's exactly how we should think about everything that doesn't have to do with whether your baby is eating and whether your friend is crying and whether your heart is beating. Like, we should see all information as chaotic and interpretable in a million ways. We should see the human mind as not a computer, not a 0-1, switchboard, but a miraculous ball of sponge that is perfectly capable in the most beautiful and ridiculous ways of acting completely hypocritically, holding two completely contradictory thoughts at once, both believing in God and not believing in God, getting away from these previously required compartments of information that we needed because we didn't have a fucking internet. I can literally text you like how I'm feeling on the way home from work or from this podcast because my car will be driving itself. And unless I pass a cop, I won't even be doing anything wrong. It'll be safer and easier for me to let you know how I feel as your friend, better than I could on a phone call, better than I can in this podcast. Like, I can just like thumb you a message. And if like, because we didn't have that 10 years ago, 20 years ago, you needed more categories. Are you a socialist? Are you a communist? Right. Are you a fascist? Are you an atheist? Are you spiritual? Are you religious? What are you was more necessary when it was harder for us to get in touch with each other.
Whoa, cool.
And I think the kids are the things that we find obnoxious about them with their, they are through no merit of their own. They're just born in new, different waters, but they do have a heightened awareness, I think, of like how every single one of them is a different story, which the knuckleheads, it's like look at as a weakness. It's like, oh, what is every single fucking human being here got a fucking different identity and story? Am I supposed to stop the whole goddamn bus because one of you decided to? And but underneath that, I think is like, it's like, you know what? That may be the case actually.
What a mess! To me, it's like it's the moment that happens. You really do, the moment that in your own life that clicks in, for better or for worse. For a lot of people, it's for worse. Your exploitation ability drops because now, for me, it's like having a baby and then seeing the way that my wife and my baby love each other, and seeing the way she just like the patience, man. And like watching a baby at a nipple as he gets older, and they do a thing where he just like, he thinks it's funny to clamp on with his lips and just yank back like you're pulling that. It sounds like my wife when it happens, pulling a balloon string back. And then pulling back, and then like looking at me with this like smile on his face, like he's showing me.
What, is your kid 13? What is it?
He's in his 30s. We found him on one of those S&M papers. No, but when you look at that, and then the next time you encounter an asshole, you just think about their mother and the love that their mother still has for them, the hopes their mother still has for them, the excitement their mother gets when they call, or the secret joy their mother gets even though they might be pretending to be mad. Suddenly your ability to really enjoy alienating that person and turning them into the most obnoxious piece of shit on earth, and what a demon, it drops at least like 20, 30%, if not all the way down, because you're just dealing at work. You know, the person who's not doing such a great job or whatever, you think of their mom, how they call their mom on the weekends or at night, and they're like, yeah, it's going good. I'm having some problems, but I think I'm working it out. Now, how do you stay mad at that person? It's really difficult. And so what you're talking about is like to really enjoy a system where you can justify and rationalize oppression. You got to categorize people into these very, very big, broad categories. And
it's like there's like this internal psychological war we're having right now, where we have gotten so good at categorization, and we're doing it seemingly in the interest of fairness, but until we can subcategorize to the point where there's no more categories, where these categories are going to kill us.
Yeah.
Because every story that we tell that's satisfying to us on an emotional level is a story about how those categories aren't true. Oh, Robert De Niro's not just an old fuddy-duddy. He's your intern. I mean, it's the most benign movie is still in the end about how this person is not going to act in accordance with your predictions, period.
Right. Yeah. Wow.
And we don't take joy in that. I mean, that's been a big lesson for me. It's like because without even thinking about it, women were women for me. Like, as opposed to like, some people, amid the various variables that they have that make up their character sheet in D&D, one of the variables is a gender, as opposed to like, I don't know, it's hard to articulate. It's like the difference between, that person who happens to be a woman is over there in the corner and there's a woman in the corner. It sounds like empty hokey semantics.
No, it does not.
But it's when the recent wave of this avalanche of that's got 40 to 60% of our colleagues in various degrees of entanglement and opinions and stuff. Like, it happened over those last couple of years. Like, that was my big like epiphany, was that, some of this shit, like, you're not even thinking about it. That's the whole problem. Like, and then it would be great if to not think about stuff and automatically already be doing it right. But then there's a bunch of stuff that no one's thinking about, and the default setting is still on, like, well, that's a woman. Like, if your wife walks in here, it's like, am I able to see her as a wife or your wife and that kind of shit? Like, it's it to me, that's the because it's easier to do with like, because we've been raised on all these movies about like how, well, if you see that person as a different color or you see them as a different weight, it's like beauty is skin deep and we're all the same underneath kind of thing. That stuff's been fed to us so much that we're all kind of good at it. Like we're just like, that's easy. Like,
faking it. We're good at faking it. We're not good at actually being there. I mean, you can't like this thing that you're talking about. Ram Dass calls it soul, not role. You're a soul. We're all souls. We're all from that perspective, infinite sort of karmic patterns that aren't dependent on the body, and that we have been appearing in the material universe for millennia in various forms, and to the point where we've all been each other's mom at some point. And this is what we're doing. Are we in a fishing net? Are we in a university? Is it a Gnostic prison? Who the fuck knows? But the reality is that when you're sitting with someone, whether it's a beautiful woman, a beautiful man, a black person, white person, Nazi, saint, whoever, and the comma between Nazi and saint, whoever you're fucking with, that's a soul. That's a soul, just like you. And there's a unification on a level just beneath identity. It doesn't mean there's no identity. Identity's still there. If we're at a costume party, I got to respect your costume. You spent a lot of time working on it.
It says something about your choices that you made that day.
Yeah, that's right.
There's a story to it. It may or may not. It relates somehow to who you are, sometimes in an inverse way. Yes. Sometimes in a totally just reflective way. Sometimes in just a precipitous way. Like, I'm angry, so I'm wearing a red costume. Sometimes it's the opposite. But there's a relationship for sure, because in our wildest dreams we're capable of random thought, like random behavior. We're not really. Like, if you make a Halloween costume, it came from some thought in your head. I didn't mean to derail you. I just like that metaphor so much, because Campbell talked about that a lot. Like the idea of ceremony and identity and all these things of being like it not only in terms of religion and society should we always keep one foot in and one foot out and realize that other people are just vessels for something else, but also in terms of your own mortality and psychology, like your mental health is reliant on you as you get older, realizing that you are just a Halloween costume, that you can't continue to take yourself seriously, or you're gonna really freak out when your flesh starts to rot. Like, you're gonna
take the mask off once in a while. Take a shower, man. That thing's disgusting. It's sticky. Also, it's like this masquerade that we're in. If any of these things are true, let's say instead of a soul, let's go nihilism. It's like we're sort of just energetic patterns that have sort of consumed a cyclical way of presenting ourselves. We've gotten stuck in that cyclical way of presenting ourselves, however you want to put it. Within that, I like the soul part idea the best, though, but within it is this invitation, which is, hey, guess what? You can take your mask off and try something completely new. And everyone's, in art, people are always like, look at David Bowie. He was 9 different people, and it's respected in art when an artist has phases, and it just completely gives up the old phase, starts a new phase. Holy shit, it's incredible. Or people get pissed because the new phase is not as good as the old phase in their minds. But
I wouldn't mind drilling down on that. I don't want to fuck you up if you're on a roll. But,
well, the last piece, I was just going to take it to the fact that now, and do drill down on that, but now what's happening is in a person's life, we're getting down to the biological level. And as technology progresses, that's going to get easier and easier to convert yourself in every way. If you want to turn yourself, if you want to make your skin darker, you'll be able to make it darker. If you want to change the color of your eyes, I don't know how far down the line it is, but it's certainly on the horizon that we're in a costume party where now if we want to change our costume, suddenly I'll start wearing suits or some shit. I'll cut my beard. I'll get glasses. We're going to get to the point where it's like the whole fucking thing itself can very quickly be changed. And right now, the people who are deciding to do that, relating to the sense of like, oh, I'm a woman. I'm a woman now. I'm going to be a woman now, and converting into that using the height of medical technology and hormone technology. This is controversial because at the costume party, it's like, no.
Right.
We stay the costume that we became when we were a kid. Period.
Right.
Don't fucking change.
Which is absurd, isn't it? Because we're sentient primates, and so that's what when I talked about drilling down, I just said you got there because the David Bowie reference, I think, is like it's an oversimplification to say we respect it in art. Well, I would say more like we have this tradition of you have to be an artist in order to engage in this frivolous behavior. And even then, if all David Bowie had done was come out every week with a different look on it, we would start to treat him like garbage. But what he had a way, we remember his name and associate him with like style or whatever the fuck you call it, coolness, because he, along with like other icons, whatever you associate with that stuff, like the artists that reinvent themselves over time, they disappear and then they reemerge, and there's a rhythm with which we respect that, and it's serious. Then you have this other culture that we totally also respect, but because we don't take it seriously, which is this costume culture, we so every single person, even the bank teller who like that we would never hang out with, not saying if you're a bank teller we wouldn't hang out with you, I'm conjuring a hypothetical person.
Yeah, sure.
A person with whom we have nothing in common culturally, that person and you and I observe Halloween. We observe if you get an invitation to a costume party, or if it's just a game, even just calling it a game. And then all of us, like, we are able to apply that to our online behavior. Like when if it's a game, then we accept that it's okay to change your mind, your face, your approach. And that, I think, is the key. It's like you talked about it on Harmontown, and it was sort of like you alluded to it as basically this could be the actual apocalypse, the thing that takes us out is the same thing that also maybe that's our salvation, which is this idea that we lose our grip on the costume we were born into, and realize that thanks to technology, thanks to advancement in thought, and with a big healthy dose of Jesus Christ, look what happens when you take this shit too seriously. We reach this kind of reverse Vulcan thing where we mimetically evolve into a race of people that don't consider who we are to be worth a fuck. Because whether we have these arguments about nature versus nurture, guess what both of those have in common? You don't control them. Oh. So it's like we sit and we debate. We go like, oh, do you think this guy's a serial killer because of his mom's genes, or because of what his mom threw at him when he was 3? Yes, that matters a lot. Let's figure that out. But it's also important to note that the larger like realization we need to have is right under our nose of like we don't really get to choose, and that then there's all this stuff that we do get to choose, kind of, maybe, unless free will is an illusion or whatever. But so yeah, like we like guys in particular, but really just humans in general, you get punished for changing your mind. You can't just we look at it as weakness. It's like, oh yeah, I thought you said Batman was a good movie. Now you're saying it's bad. We especially would punish it if we could nail you on you said Batman was a bad movie, but then that redhead over there by the punch bowl, I saw what happened. She said it was a good movie. Now you think it's a good movie. Guys, that's a big part of like masculinity, is like, you're not authentic. You weren't stubborn enough. Oh, yeah, you're not real. You're fake. You're virtue signaling. That's the thing they call it. Like where it's like, oh, I decided the other day that I'd like people to like me and I'd like them to know that I'd like them to like me. You fucking fake piece of shit.
Yeah,
you fucking
you can't say
spineless cuck. You fucking like vaporous non-entity that can't be taken seriously. Look at my hard cock. Look at my backbone. These things are real. They can't be hacked. They can't be changed. I was born the way I am and will remain that way forever. That's strength. And it's like it's extinction. I mean, it's like it's not it I have the same visceral response to the idea of somebody that just changes when the wind blows.
As long as the person doing what you just said acknowledges they're wearing a costume of a person who does that shit, it's way more interesting than a person who's forgotten they put a fucking mask on.
Right, and is standing at the Halloween party wearing nothing and yelling at everyone for acting like Dracula.
Yeah.
Exactly.
I am from Transylvania. Blood is my main diet.
You're not Dracula. You're just Dracula because it's Halloween.
Yeah,
like,
I'm the real good. Yeah, that's where we run into problems. Yeah,
that guy's a bummer.
But the really sad problem with all of this is the adherence to some mask thing is the punish and that we get punished for taking the mask off and even saying like, God, I didn't mean to wear the mask. I'm sorry, you guys. I got lost in being Dracula. I bit people at this party. I fucked up. These masks are really, really good, man.
I'm very imaginative. I'm a very immersive person. Yeah.
The mask actually injected like various like hormones and neurotransmitters into my brain, giving me memories of a time when I did live in Transylvania.
I'm an adaptable person. If I was raised in the North Pole, I'd make a house out of ice. If I was ancient Spartan, I'd have a different definition of murder. Yeah, I am a human being created, but it's like I think we should let ourselves off the hook for that as well.
That's it. Well, this is what to me it's like. No, number one, to answer the apocalypse thing, it's literally at least linguistically the apocalypse if we're saying people at the costume party are going to at least temporarily take their mask off to put a new one on. That's the lifting of the veil. That's what the apocalypse means, lifting of the veil. In this case, it's the lifting of the mask. And if we're going to change costumes, there's going to be a weird time in between where we're going to see whatever's under there. If it's nothingness, it's nothingness. But I don't think it is. Regardless, the problem is, like, there's this like homophobic pastor who wrote a book which is just filled with homophobia and filled with old bullshit, crazy Jehovah level Christian shame shit. And he realized that it was wrong. And he realized he fucked up bad because this is a book that gets read at youth camps and shit for Christians. And he was suddenly in the worst predicament of all time because he realized, oh my God, I was wearing this awful mask when I wrote that shit. It's not real. I don't think I'm a Christian. So he had to decide, do I come out and say this, even though I'm going to get the people who love me and send me emails every day, like, thank you so much. You taught me the truth, which is I should not have sex before marriage. And I know now why you told me that. You have to like disappoint legions of these people. They will hate you. They'll say the devil got into you. And then also all the gay people whose lives you fucked up by recommending these people treat them a certain way are going to be like, fuck you. Fuck you. You want me to be like, oh, okay, now you don't get to be, fuck you, justice. So what? Clearly in that situation, it's kind of easier to keep the fucking mask on. And we got to figure out a way to like let people start over. Yeah. Mask, whatever the mask is they're wearing. And if we don't, accidentally we're holding up the very thing that we're realizing is not so great. Yeah. That's the problem to me is like, God damn it. We got to figure out a way to like, yes, that mask sucked. He was an asshole. He bit Jake in the fucking kitchen. Thought he was Dracula. He fucking bit a lot of us. And
I think you just hit on something a couple sentences back. If I heard you right, it's like you kind of like sped by it, but it's like really, it's like, okay, so here's the thing. Our mask analogy that we're drawing all this like clarity from, there's this other thing that we're not talking about, which is that in order to wear a mask, the mask has to be on something, and I just realized that it's not the changing of the mask that people perceive as weakness. It's the root implication of being able to change the mask, which is there's nothing under there.
Yeah.
So it's like this cyclical kind of thing. Like even I can agree, and maybe this is what I need to get past is. No, there's nothing under there, or do we have to find what's under there? Are we, as humans, are we children of a deadbeat God? Not to judge him, just characterizing the amount of hands-on intimacy that we share with him. Kids that are feeling a lack of connection with wherever we came from, like. Have we been all of this time just trying to wear his clothes and like emulate, and like that's why our obsession, like, and you can reverse that if you're an atheist and say, well, that's a psychological phenomenon of us projecting and creating it upon our gaining this sentience and trying to cope with it, to create these gods that represent the human condition and things like that. So are we, in either case, have we been aping what we have always believed you're supposed to be if you're powerful, which is decisive and extant, corporeal, able to affect change, and is that the big precipice that we're at, where we have to accept we have to aspire to non-efficacy, non-effability, non-existence. Is that a word?
Wow.
Like because I mean, as in climate change, like that's what we're trying to figure out, how to solve the Rubik's Cube of making it seem like we haven't been here in a while. Because that's only like oh shit, but that follows 60,000 years of us expressing absolutely the opposite. We're like, damn, I'm gonna put a pyramid here, like otherwise no one's gonna even know I was here. And now we're at this precipice where we're kind of like, and I don't think it's limited to that. It's we can see that clearly in climate change, and I guess I'm saying, like, is that where we're at, kind of psychologically, en masse, and spiritually, and all this stuff, where all of us as individuals and as a species, like, are faced with this test where we're able to go, shit, which Campbell would allude to, is like he would always use this example of he would point up at the lights for the kids that he was speaking to, and he would say, look at these bulbs up there.
Well, if
you identify with the bulb, then you're going to burn out, and that's going to be a crisis. But if you identify with the light that's coming off of all of them, then one bulb burning out doesn't mean anything. And the trick is to start as a bulb and gradually shift your consciousness to
that's cool.
It's Campbell 101, but it's like, are we actually at this point where we have to, like, if we're going to move forward through this, like, the internet has posed to us, it's like putting a mirror in a parakeet cage, or worse, like a orangutan cage, where it's like that has never seen a mirror. Like, it's dangerous what we've done. We've given ourselves the ability to ask what we are at 1,000 cycles per second, and is the way that we're going to survive by finally admitting that we are. We
are what?
Well, we're nothing. That if there was a mask there, it's for the same impulse that there was or wasn't a God that then did or didn't say let there be or not be a universe, because the mask is simultaneously evidence that in the beginning there was nothing, that we are nothing underneath, and also the most beautiful poetic expression, the most important thing, the will to be something.
That's right.
I want to be Dracula. If I'm not Dracula, at this Halloween party, I'm not Melvin from accounting, and that doesn't mean anything.
Yeah.
My Dracula costume is not going to make Melvin a better accountant, and Melvin doesn't exist. God damn it, Melvin is another Dracula costume underneath that, and that's not shameful, because what I am is a fucking child beam of a bigger beam. That's all it is this algorithm that says it's better to be anything than the alternative. And the alternative is very fucking real. It's at the core of everything, which is nothing at all. And so all hail the fucking Dracula mask. And both respect it and don't overreact to it.
I love it, man. That's it. That articulates the Bardo condition. In between lives in Tibetan Buddhism, you go into this Bardo, and in this place, you're freaking out because you don't have a body anymore. And if you haven't prepared for it at all, you're really freaking out because you've done the near-death experience thing where you've sort of done the life review, you've seen your body there, and you've like witnessed the your own death. But then not just that, now you're dealing with like having no body for real, and you don't get to go back to the body. Like you don't get to put the mask on. This isn't an 8-hour acid trip. This is gone. The mask is off, and now you're this sort of karmic momentum that's moving through a house of mirrors, which is just a projection of your karma onto the mirrors, except the mirrors don't just reflect your karma. They become living beings that come up to you and talk to you, torture you, torment you. And so you get freaked out because you want a body again, because you're very vulnerable in this maskless moment, just a little ripple of karma moving through time. And so then you're freaking the fuck out. And in that freak out session, you end up coming back here, and you'll come back as a human. Some people come back here like people running out of a burning building. Some people come back here with some intentionality.
Well, it sounds like you're describing like these Salvia YouTube videos, like the real ones where people like Justin showed me some of those. Justin Roiland, like he's like, oh yeah, there's the silly Salvia videos, but then like it's a dark thing. And Justin had done it. I never did it, but he said, yeah, it's like it's ego death. Like it's like you're locked in a fucking coffin. Like you suddenly lose all awareness of your existence. Like Justin like described like he like the idea of like all of a sudden being in a field and all of his friends laughing at him because his whole life had been fake and the real them were like watching him this whole time. But he, it's like, and you see those YouTube videos, right, where people they giggle and then they go into silence and then they start moving around.
Yes,
and they're like moving around as if like in this panic because the movement isn't accomplishing anything. But they're feeling the effects of their body colliding with foreign objects. They just don't know who they are or why they are where they are. And so people just like climb out of windows.
I've seen it.
I watched it and I was like, there was a spiritual component to that was terrifying to me. Like,
it's terrifying, yeah.
Because like that is sort of a metaphor for it's what you're describing. It's like this idea of like, if you were able to remove the Dracula mask and then the Melvin the accountant mask underneath it, like, would you ever come back? Isn't that death? And
well, this is why. Yeah, no, number one, the real terrifying thing is like the reality is wear the mask all you want. Like this is the mask realm, you could say, the human realm, and wear the mask, but still you're thwarted by the mask wearing in the sense that functioning around you and in you is an infinite space that you're a part of, and you're really focused, zoomed down in this one place neurologically, but you know the truth. This is why it's considered confusion as a condition of enlightenment, because if you really want to fuck up the whole game, take your confusion of being a mask wearing, vampire in the human realm, and look at the part of yourself that's aware of the confusion, that knows you're confused. Now, what's knowing you're confused? Anytime you get confused, there's a part that's like, I'm confused. That part isn't confused. It's clear as a fucking bell. So confusion is considered to be just on the continuum of awakening or awareness or whatever. So you really can't escape from enlightenment is the problem. And so, but we just don't want to deal with that. So we're running into the mask realm. We're burrowing into matter and identity temporarily. There's no way we could stay here. Regardless, we're going to stay here for as long as we can, imagining for a second that we weren't this vast, spacious, progenitive sort of reality.
Yeah, it's like squinting to make something clear for a second, but it's not really. Or these things that you can do in nature where you can you can force yourself to have like if you're falling asleep at night and you don't want to fall asleep, you can kind of you can muster a spasm of through your shame of I'm falling asleep and I don't want to be asleep and I got shit to do, and it's like you can. It's
my first existential gag. I've never that just made me have I've never had an that's so good. Keep going, man. Shit.
But it's I mean it's sad. I mean it's sad to us because we have a relationship with non-existence as extant people that we think non-existence is better. It could be cute, beautiful. To think of it as like
it's the cutest oblivion I ever saw.
Well, the idea that oblivion at the end of it is just like, oh, a little oblivion doesn't want to be oblivion.
No,
he wants to have a Halloween party.
Well, that's very sweet, and this is why, like a lot in Buddhism, the emptiness, the nothingness thing. There really is like a lot of Buddhists are constantly trying to rework that. Translation, because it's like not the nothingness thing is like there is also somethingness. Clearly, these things are both here. Like there isn't just nothingness, and everyone, and also the nothingness thing is like the word itself is like gets translated in nothingness, but there are other words like luminosity, the clear light, or spaciousness. Or better descriptions. It's like the nothingness thing sounds terrifying. When I think of nothingness, I think of a kind of dark, black, just I can't, like anesthesia forever situation. Whereas this is more like, well, yeah, there's a sort of spaciousness within which there's phenomena, and you're both of these things simultaneously. So the anxiety and panic about like the letting go, what you just said really did make me feel quite uncomfortable. This is more of a result of a kind of ignorance of the situation. And so the idea is like, number one, right now, this is why the human birth is considered the best, because animals are just pure instinct. They're not going to think about this shit. Maybe monkeys or something, but they're playing, they're sleeping, they're hungry. So their realm is defined as ignorance. And then the realm of the gods, which is like on this earth, would be like just, I don't know, people who like have infinite wealth. It's more difficult to get into like taking your mask off in that situation because you're fucking,
because who cares?
Who cares?
Like, it's the microcosm of it being like me sitting at a bar with a phone. Everyone at the bar has a phone. We get in arguments about who directed Hudson Hawk. No one bothers to look it up because that's not what's important. Because the reality is, like, if you knew everything, then you wouldn't be at a bar. You wouldn't be in an argument. Hudson Hawk wouldn't be a good or a bad movie. It wouldn't matter who directed it. That idea that mounting the threat of nothing mattering to us seems like a threat. But we've experienced when you take mushrooms, it's like there's a positive. It's like we call it. We use different words for it. You're not entering oblivion when you're on mushrooms. You're gaining perspective.
Yeah,
but there is a sort of. It's like less and less matters. You don't take mushrooms and then like realize how many of your taxes you need to file. Like you're more prone to like stare at a bathroom fixture. I think that's an expression of like, well, may as well look at this as talk to my friends, which is sort of like, that's a beautiful thing when you're on psilocybin, but it's like, I think that's because mushrooms somehow puts you on the the buyer's side of the market of
that's
the
cool.
Oblivion Exchange.
Yeah, that's right.
So you're actually gaining from Oblivion, maybe.
Well, yeah, there is. Well, there's one of the concepts I've been taught is, that thing where you come back in. So like this thing on mushrooms, we do it when we go to sleep. We do it when we daydream. That thing where you're driving for 30 minutes and you realize, where the fuck have you been? You're like, you've gone 20 miles and you don't remember anything that happened in that 20-mile period. We lose our keys. Where the fuck were you when you lost your keys? You were gone. You're gone. Right?
Well, certainly the key keeping part of you was definitely dead.
Yeah. Well, or you can just look back 5 days ago and think of what you were doing at 2:00 and really think about it. What the fuck? You can't remember that shit.
That guy's toast.
Yeah, forget it. It's gone. So this situation is like terrifying when it's like thought about or it happens intentionally, but it's already happening all the fucking time. And so the idea is like, but when we pop back in, that's a really interesting moment, and that's a moment of like that's the return is what it's called. So that weird moment where all of a sudden you go from the daydream into a sense of like, wait, I think I'm something. What is that? What is that moment? And this is, a place to like recognize is all, to open your mind to that flickering in and out that we do is these fucking strange creatures that are like aquatic creatures in the sense that instead of living in the ocean, we live in the great emptiness. And yet for some reason, we only think we exist when we come up for air. And this produces this hilarious society that we've built in the place where you come up for air.
Right.
And even though we're always going down and down and down.
We think that life is we call real life the cabana next to the pool, but what are we doing? We're swimming. We're going in and out and in and out of the pool because it is the actual crossing of that threshold that is the cricket leg that makes the sound that makes us alive. It's the friction of going back and forth.
Holy fuck, you're right. That's it. It's this. That's
the alternating current would be another metaphor, like how electricity. It's just a thing going back and forth, right?
Wow, man. Yeah, that's it. And I think just that. Maybe just realizing that and let that realization take care of itself. If that were to ripple out into society, then I think there would be a natural kind of non-fascist shift that might start happening. You would just need it to happen. The problem is it requires a person individual. I think the problem / the double-edged sword of the thing is that it does require a sort of individualistic approach to the exploration of this situation, which people love, right? Because there's a heroic component.
Well, I love beating the shit out of that guy. Can't wait to make fun of him. Oh, hey, have you heard about this guy that says we should all just chill out? Yeah, that's cool. No, he's really popular. It's really gaining popularity. Okay, I guess I can respect that. But then it's just mounting and mounting. Can't wait to fucking rip his intestines out. Can't wait to find out he's a fucking freak, monster, hypocrite, and fucking probably cheats on his wife and fucking.
You're non-dualism.
Look at him over there eating fucking peanuts. I thought you were God. Why are you eating peanuts? Hey, I never said I was God. Get him!
Shut up! You're just only because there is a kind of grotesque fervency that comes out of you when you start because if like we're at a costume party and somehow 99% of us forgot we were wearing masks and suddenly you come down just enough from the weird costume party drug that we all took before we put on the masks and get this great relief where you're like, oh my God, thank God, I'm not Dracula. Holy shit, guys, I'm not Dracula. It's a mask. Holy shit, we are high. So this fervency comes out, and if people are still tripping balls at this crazy interdimensional costume party, they're like, fuck you, man. Fuck you. Fuck your goddamn sanctimonious bullshit. This is a costume party crap. Get the fuck out if you don't want to wear the mask. I get it, man. I've been the fucking screamer at the costume party, and certainly I've been the loather of the megaphone people blasting the shit out in these aggressive ways. Both sides are like easy to fall into, and which is why I love this idea of like, this is not a thing you need to bugle about. And you certainly do not need to listen to someone bugling about their unmasking. Because you're not wearing their mask. They bought their mask at the fucking Halloween store. You bought your mask at fucking a latex shop. It's got locks and buckles, and it's got, and it's not going to come off the same way.
You're Rick Baker. You've been looking forward to this all year. Yeah, and you don't have to worry about whether your response to other people's bugling makes you a good or a bad person who needs to change in the following ways, or whether you're on the path to enlightenment, or whether we're all doomed, I guess. I mean, what in the hell is going to happen in the worst case scenario that's any different than the best case scenario if you pull so far back that all it is a bunch of shit that was here and that is going to go somewhere else. So there you go. Now we can just hang out.
Exactly. And the relief of knowing that these fucking punks, what am I, fucking Bill O'Reilly, wearing robes and doing the thing, the relief you get realizing, oh yeah, well maybe, but you don't have to listen to them. They're just giving subway directions like anybody else. They can tell you where the subway is. Maybe they can walk you to the tunnel to get into the subway, but you've got to get on the subway if you want to go on the subway, period. Just that realization that no one's going to help you. And that's not that you're in a hopeless situation. No one's helping. No one's going to get you. You are not going to be helped. And so those costumes people wear at the party that look like they're fucking paramedics or whatever, forget it. You got to do it yourself. That's what I love. And because there's something really joyful in that, because now it's you and your loneliness, and you should be lonely because it's a lonely situation. And then that's it. And within that, you can do you can go see yourself. See for yourself, because no one's going to help you. So give it up that you're going to get helped. And if someone's out there trying to help with their fucking crystals and the salves and the fucking thing and the gems and the bells, whatever the fuck it is, that's okay too. You know, I get it. I've been helped by those people to some degree, but the help I got culminated in a realization of like, oh fuck, I got to do it myself. There's nothing else to that. And maybe if not for them, you know, guiding me in a certain degree to like, look, it's a mask. You see that, right? It's a
and
mask.
No one's going to hurt. No one's trying to do anything to you that you can't supersede with your own control. Just take it back to that guy who's getting his box of Oreo cookies and white guilt from Amazon/Twitter all in one box. Like, it's an it is the time is upon us to figure out what we're going as for Halloween, if nothing else.
Yes.
Like the game of arguing with each other and going, you're just trying to make me do this or think that, is me personally using my I statements. It's like, we gotta grow beyond. I gotta grow beyond that. If I haven't proven by now that I can do whatever the fuck I want, then I don't know what I'm doing. And if I continue to protect that right, or celebrate it, or set fire to it, or relate to it in any way as if it's part of my identity, my ability to do whatever the fuck I want, when really that's the least special thing about any human in the world, the least that we can offer anything. Then I'm still not a bad person, but I'm just wasting an opportunity to ask myself, who am I? What? And by who am I mean, who am I not? Who am I going as for this particular section of this Halloween party? Like, and why? What does that represent to me? Like, what's the thought there? You know, my little Dracula.
Maximize there's a tantric idea called adding wood to the fire. It's really cool, which is like, it actually just fucking maximize the Harmon, maximize the doing whatever you want to do. How far can you take it? What happens if you, instead of thinking like, oh fuck, this do what I want to do thing, I'm gonna like watch it or get all mindful and let it be? What happens if you go deeper and deeper into it intentionally, as hardcore as you can, for a week? or a day or whatever. See what happens if you turn the dial. How do you have a dial? And if you do, how far does it go up? And keep turning that fucking thing up. And then within that, you get it actually incinerates the mask.
Or also like being like, I possibly another way of saying this, or it's an alternative. It's like also maybe you're done with that. Maybe it got dialed to 10 a long time ago, or it's been at 5 for so long that you know it's done its purpose, and the new frontier has to do with other people, not in an empathic like Daddy Warbucks. Let me go find some Orphan Annie's way, but like in the sense of like it's a different concept of like who am I? Like the idea of me. I was on Ron Funch's podcast. It's just that I talked briefly about that idea of like being. Like mirroring, like being in the room that you're actually in with the people that you're with. That's something that you have the privilege of doing if you've been yourself for 45 years. You can now afford to speak less reflexively to the people that you're with. You can listen to them and think about what you've heard and then pick your reaction from an ironic compartment or spin a random spinner, but in any case actually like think about it, like have fun with it, be at the party, as opposed to like I think what I tend to do just on a neurological level is like, and to overuse the metaphor, it's like I'm the guy at the Halloween party who's like, he threw together a Dracula costume and he's there, but it's just my thought is on some fireworks celebration that's supposed to happen in the backyard at midnight, and not that or some girl that I came here to see, or how she's going to feel about my Dracula costume, and or the work I got tomorrow after the party. And in any case, just absolutely not. I am here. I'm at this party. I am in a Dracula costume. Like that's a human kind of habit we have. Where we're all at a party and we're all looking around the room while we're talking to each other. We're half distracted because we're hating ourselves, wondering if we should be standing where we're standing.
This is to me, like, do you have enough time, by the way? It's I mean, great. It's 1:03.
What do you think I do if I leave here? Make season 5 of Rick and Morty? Nobody wants that. Nobody wants that.
You're making Rick and Morty.
I got people to do that.
Okay, great. Okay, cool. So the aesthetic of the phobe, it's called phobing, I heard. It's where you look at your phone at the table when you're on a date, and it's really rude, phobing. So
is that why is it called phobic?
It was a blog. Who the fuck?
Is it like a fear? Is that like phobic, or like is it like a different?
It just sounds like a neg, I think, is why they called it phobing. It's like I'm phone, I'm whatever.
Like faux for phone.
Yeah, phobing.
That's
so
dumb.
It's dumb, but it's stuck in my head. It's funny too because I just said to you, they call it phobing like it's some universal thing. I read it on like Daily Mail or whatever. But I like it because it demonstrates the rudeness that we're already doing to each other, minus the phone, which is that, there's this cool idea that as humanity developed, the separation between conscious and subconscious became literally night and day. So we dream at night. In the day, we have this thing called sobriety or whatever, like default reality is. But it used to be the two were murked together, dreaming what happened in the day. That's where the gods appeared. That's where all the mythology happened. That's where the listening to the Lord or whatever. It was the beginning of your neocortex taking over, so to speak. And so now what we do is we have this imaginary phone in our heads that seems to be a result of that, which is where we can refer to this interior phone. When's the fireworks show? Does she think I'm an asshole? Does he like my costume? Why did I come to this fucking party?
How am I driving? Call this number, checking that voicemail.
Yeah, it's all happening except it's our thoughts. And so we've become fixated on the thought pattern. during any engagement with any kind of reality at all. We are deeply into our thoughts, but in the same way we're into our phones, because I think the thinking thing is a relatively new dimension of human reality, because suddenly now we're like actually able to like contemplate and think, and it's fucking cool, and you fantasize and daydream. This is where we're at, fixated on the thought patterns. And so this is the difference between the phone and the thoughts is people, you can put your fucking phone down and turn it on sleep mode or whatever. Your thoughts, we can't turn it off yet. Someone left it on our brain. And even worse than that, we started to think we were our phones, except it's in our minds. You know, that's to me is the sort of situation, which is like, God damn, I think I'm my thoughts.
And I got to say, because I think it's part of the solution rather than just, again, it's like we realize what we're doing wrong, and then the important thing that I'm learning in therapy is like, okay, but then you don't have to just fucking go, oh, I'm such a piece of shit, and we're always doing that. Like the species, yes, we're always doing that, and then I'm just reminding myself right now as you're describing that, I'm like, yeah, but you know, like show me 2 species and tell me that one of them is obsessed with its own thought and is constantly inventing devices and habits and patterns because all it knows is that it's not quite comfortable with the way things just were and is trying to figure out how to make things the best possible for itself, possibly even for other people. And then you got this other ding dong over here waving its crab claw in the air, or like, oh, I grew a long neck so I can reach the leaves. And like, fuck off, man. I love us. I just like, that is wholly the anxiety, the neuroses, the self-loathing, the bad habits, the hypocrisy. It's all like it's like love it or hate it, but it's like, God damn, it's like I'm patriotic about it on a biological level. Like we invented that phone and acquired that habit through the same circuitry that might save us, might lead to us inventing the phone of putting our phone down.
I agree, man. And to me, that's these bugling fucking, party ruiners. They're the first to tell you, turn your thoughts off.
Yeah.
You must learn to stop the thoughts. You're thinking. No, it's like, it's beautiful. What you just said is it. It's to realize how, holy fuck, I get to carry around in my fucking skull the most advanced computer existing in the universe that we're aware of. That's right above my neck.
And it's still not enough. The way we react to it is that there must be more than this. I mean, that's a lot more admirable than being the ancient Rome of fucking cognition and being like, guess I'm better than a grizzly bear. Time to stop.
Well, but this is, to me, I think, again, a bad articulation of it by people, which makes people, don't thought shame me. Like my brain is making these wonderful things. It's like, but for some people, the problem is, no one having a phone. Fuck you, man. I love my phone. Don't get on me about my phone. It's the best thing ever. Fuck off. I came up when there was Commodore 64, where if you wanted to jerk off to porn, you're going to wait an hour to look at a JPEG. Suddenly I can like just have everything I want immediately sprayed out on this thing. Don't phone shame me.
The people, that wave of like people like, oh, everyone's on their phone. Like that guy that points it out at the lunch or the dinner or the bar or whatever. I'm like, it probably would be a great idea for everyone to put their phones down, but it's not going to be because of you. You're not selling us anything more exciting than a phone. How does that feel, Jack? And also, like, it's just like, are you Metallica? Do you hate Napster? Yeah. Like this is what it is. This is what's happening. We're becoming cyborgs. Like, I would like the fucking Price is Right to not be playing on the TV in the bar. I would like that TV ripped off the fucking wall.
Yeah.
Because I would like to be in here in a dark cave drinking, but I would also like to look at my phone while I'm doing it because I don't want to be compelled to talk to the jackass next to me.
Yeah.
And I guess we all got our little, it's just like the hubris though, cause well, now I'm just going to judge other people, but it's like I'm better though, because I will sit and look at my phone, and I never say, everyone stop looking at your phone. And I also don't go, can we please turn the fucking Price is Right off? Why don't you go home if you want to watch Price is Right at a fucking, like, you're in a bar.
So let me present a nightmare situation in this bar. So suddenly a man, I don't know, wearing fucking camouflage, breaks the door of the bar down, pulls out his gun, and says, everyone look at your phone. Don't look away. I want you on your fucking phone. If you look away from your phone, I'm going to fucking kill you. Now, here's the deal. I know what you're thinking, but my phone's going to run out of juice. Actually, no, it's not. I brought chargers and charging cables. We're going to keep it completely running for the next 20 years. We're doing the cave thing, except with your fucking phone. Feel free, look at whatever you want, go through it. But if I see you sending a text, I'm going to kill you.
Wait.
Well, because I think you could call for help. That's where the fucking stupid idea breaks down. It's like, great, I'll just text my friend to call the cops. There's an idiot making us look at our phones. But my point is, with our thoughts, this is the situation, is people don't know how to put it into airplane mode. That's all. It's not bad that we have the fucking thoughts. We love the thoughts. The thoughts create art. The thoughts create, like I need to go to the grocery store. I should take a shit. I haven't shit in the last 4 days. What's wrong? I need to go to a doctor. We need these thoughts. But there's a big relief in realizing, like, that doesn't have to be the only thing you stare at, that there's a way to, like, experiment with, like, letting that not be the primary identification of who you are in the universe, And then, so that's but I think a lot of people just haven't even, people make fun of those awful bumper stickers, like, coexist. Like, you almost have to, like, I don't even know if you're probably way past rolling your eyes at those things. I'm not. I still roll my eyes when I see a coexist bumper sticker. It still is like, did you really? Like, you want to talk to them and be like, is this helping? Do you think this is help? Do you think anyone, like a Nazi, is riding down the street and sees coexist and it's like, what have I done? But for real, I remember in Asheville, North Carolina, years and years ago, seeing a bumper sticker that said, you are not your thoughts. And it hadn't occurred to me. This was a long time ago, but I remember being like, wait a minute. What does that mean? What the fuck does that, well, then what am I? And within it produced a lot of great things in my life, but I don't think a lot of people, it's occurred to them yet. They haven't thought yet that maybe that thing rolling around in their head is not solely what they are. And if it is solely what they are, then great. But they haven't even done the experiment. Of like, wait, is this totally me, my thoughts? What's aware of the thoughts? Are the thoughts sitting in something? What are they sitting in? Who's the realizer of the thoughts? That exploration can produce for a lot of people a great relief because they're tormented by their thoughts. Yeah,
you had said that to me a couple conversations ago. It stuck with me. It was that idea of like, hey, when you start to spin out, you're having any kind of like thought crisis, just thinking about the fact that what you're doing is observing your own thought and what a miracle that is. Or a miracle, maybe that's too, that carries too much significance to say, but like that is a thing to happen. That being able to think about your own thoughts is, I don't even want to say weird, but it's a thing, and that you can then observe the fact that you're observing your own thoughts, and then your suggestion being, well, now think about the fact that if you're thinking and then you're observing yourself thinking, then are you yourself? And whether you are or you aren't, as an observer of your own thoughts, then aren't you simultaneously your own thoughts and a thing that is observing them? And doesn't that kind of doesn't that bring you closer, if not atoning completely with like the universe, because what the hell what else could you possibly be if you're looking at yourself thinking?
Yeah. Well,
and it's a first step. And it's like, the beauty of that is that you could be 16 years old and your thoughts about your thoughts could be, shit, if I don't stop being jealous, I'm going to lose this prom date. It's turning her off, but I can't stop it. That it doesn't have to be profound. It's like, it's just a human condition that you're always in a spot of like, God damn it, I'm overthinking it. Don't overthink it, but don't overthink overthinking it and all that stuff. And that spiral isn't something to steer out of. You can follow it and whip around and go, look at me. I'm a fucking not a fiddler crab. I'm like thinking about thinking, and like that makes me God.
That makes me something that's a little more spacious than my thoughts. That's for sure.
Yeah,
it gives you at the very least. It's like giving you a bigger house.
It means I don't. It means like it's like I get to ask myself at my convenience if I'm genuinely homophobic or if I genuinely love my mother, or if I'm you get to put. It means everything's on the auction block.
Yeah, and that's because that is like you can't be compassionate until that happens, because it's how are you going to be fucking compassionate if you to other people if you haven't like put as much as you can on the chopping block, so to speak, by just realizing like when a thought emerges, there it is. It's not your fault. Like just that. Like if you just like think of any fucking rotten thought you have had, that thing that might spring into your mind. There's a hammer nearby and you're with a friend. And before you could even stop it, this swamp gas thought rises up. You're like, maybe I'll just take this hammer and smash my friend in the knee. What? Where and why? But it's not as though there was a thing where you're like, you know what? I want to think a really shitty, violent thought right now. I want to sit here and think about smashing my friend in the knee with a hammer. It just came up. Now, our relationship with our farts is more healthy than our relationship with our thoughts. You know? Like, you fart, and it's the worst smelling fart of all time. You might be like, boy, I shouldn't have eaten that fucking vegan burrito. That was bad. I knew it was bad.
Because I'm there may not be a third party witnessing it and saying, what's that smell? But even relative to yourself, there's an objective accounting.
Yeah.
And we are constantly committing the crime. If we're standing in an elevator and the fart is in our head, we can not only not smell it, we can also not have dealt it. We can pretend we didn't.
The question here, I don't know. I can't do an Alan Watts accent. I wish I could, but it would be, who is the dealer of the thoughts? and when you start realizing, because you wouldn't go to the therapist and say, God, 3 days ago I was in my car and I farted, and it smelled like someone poured a diaper into an old bag of Sun Chips. And it's just really, really driving me up the wall. I'm ashamed of myself that I generated this stink. But dear God, you have a thought, this or that, whatever it may be. And let me tell you, we have crazy thoughts, and the most mundane thoughts. And you can get really, you can offend yourself. And now you could go into a neurotic spiral because you had this terrible thought, oh, why did I think about hitting my friend in the knee with a fucking hammer? What's this latent violence in my life? Why is there latent violence in my life?
Also, why do I keep smoking cigarettes? Why do I keep drinking? Why do I keep raising my voice whenever someone challenges my sense of control? Why was I mean to the nicest person in my life? That shit gets into like, ooh, I keep doing these things. And the answer is you keep having these thoughts and you're not smelling them and you're not accounting for them. And the coolest thing that I've learned in therapy, because it's like it's like, oh, I love learning that that something doesn't take any work. Is that all you have to do is be aware, is practice increasing the awareness, is smell your own farts. That's neuroplasticity. Because if you're smoking cigarettes and you're not thinking about it, one thing is probably not going to happen is anything other than smoking them. But if you simply think every time you're smoking a cigarette, think, there I go again, smoking a cigarette. You don't have to tack onto it because I'm a piece of shit. You just have to go, I'm about to smoke a cigarette. I must love it a lot or something. I don't know. The road flare. My therapist characterizes it as like practicing slowly but surely. You're just gradually increasing the nanoseconds between one thought and perhaps the reaction, or
Right.
stimulus and the response, or two thoughts that are particularly always chained together. I look at it like if you know how like roads are formed because someone's going from I'm trying to like riff geography. Someone's going from Dresden to Rome, and you know, over time, like people are going to be walking over the same shit. But not only that, but then if you see a path and then the rest is weeds, it wouldn't really even matter at that point if there's a faster way from Dresden to Rome. The faster way is the fucking path because there's less tigers and less brambles. That may be a very winding, weird road, but over time it becomes the way to get to Rome, and the fastest one, yeah. And that this neuroplasticity concept, this concept of being aware, is the metaphor for it. Is you just make more stops as you're walking to Rome from Dresden. Oh, cool. You stop. You have a picnic. A picnic is a nanosecond long, and because you increase the chaotic chances that after you pack your fucking picnic basket back up, maybe this time, just like the first fucking guy that walked from Dresden to Rome did, maybe you're going to pick your own path just randomly. Maybe it's like the more you stop along the way, you don't have to be noble or strong or willful, just pause, and even that sounds like it takes work, but it's like just thinking about it, increases the odds of new branches of thought.
Dan, thank you, man, for coming on the show.
Don't fucking try to get me out of here.
I don't want you out.
I'm kidding. It's like
I just
3
can't
hours.
think of a better thing to end on than that.
I know.
So
I blew
beautiful.
it. I know. Because you're like, dude, we fucking did it. And I'm like, I just wanted to ruin your. You ever see the porns, the ruined orgasm porn?
Yeah, I love them.
It's just a smirking woman going like, like this like twitching dick, and the guy's going,
Y'all are the best. It's one of my favorite genres of porn. Man, you are a genius. Thank you for your brain and your mind and spending time on the show.
Thanks for having me in. I wish the two of us were less psychotic, so we could ever talk to each other without engaging in our performative Dracula masks.
I like our Dracula masks.
No, it's working great. I'm just saying, don't you think it's kind of... No, I didn't mean to shame it. I just think it's funny that like we both share that. Like, we have a more genuine conversation. That if we spent 3 hours talking at a bar, I bet we would have talked about way less valuable shit.
What? We need the ritual. We need the ceremony of the podcast. I love it. And I like sitting with you at the bar, man. All of it's fun. And I love you, and I can't wait to see you again. I hope you will, when you were talking about getting people come play music at your pool workouts, please let me blow out some synth stuff for you.
I'm worried about this being near the pool.
Fuck, I hadn't even considered it. Offer withdrawn. That's how dim I am. I forgot I have like...
I'm worried we're going to get electrocuted, and there's no water in this room.
Fuck, I'm not taking my precious...
It looks like, for those who haven't seen photos of it, it looks like in the scene in Star Wars when C-3PO has been knocked around on the Millennium Falcon during the TIE Fighter fight, and then there's the comic relief moment of him going, oh boy, oh. He's just covered in wires.
It's a modulator. Well, we'll figure it out. I'll find another instrument.
Maybe just a nice guitar.
I got one.
If that falls in the pool,
fuck it.
Everyone lives.
I have a shitty guitar. Until next time, man. Hare Krishna. Wait, Harmon, where can people find you?
Oh, I don't know. Go watch Rick and Morty in November 2019. I have an Instagram account. That's my sole recourse to social media. Dan Harmon on Instagram.
Thank you. A huge thank you to the great Dan Harmon for appearing on this episode of the DTFH. Also, thank you, Instacart. Check them out. Use our offer code Duncan to get $10 off. Sign up for our Patreon at patreon.com/DTFH. And won't you give us a nice rating and subscribe on iTunes? I love y'all, and I'll see you next week. Until then, and come to my thing on Sunday at Samarasa Yoga Studio. It's donation only. I just want the motivation to sit still, and having a group of people around helps. So maybe I'll see you on Sunday. If not, and that's going to be the first Sunday of every month from here on out. So if I don't see you then, I'll see you some other place probably. Until I see you, may your eyes light with the glorious fire of all that dwells